2 years ago, we did an off-road comparison test between two very capable SUVs, and just for the fun of it, we threw in an Isuzu D-Max V-Cross. Now you may think the D-Max V-Cross was completely out of place, but in fact, with just a handful of proper four-wheel drive vehicles in the mass market space, it was fun to see how the D-Max fared off-road. But coming to today, we're here with the latest version of the D-Max V-Cross, which now has a top-of-the-line Z variant that gives it a few aesthetic features as well as a few new convenience features. So in this review, what we're going to do is we're going to drive the D-Max V-Cross in the city in urban environments to see how this performs as a lifestyle vehicle. But before we do that, let's take a closer look at everything that's new about the D-Max V-Cross. At the front, you get a more imposing face now thanks to a redesigned front bumper that gives it a more vertical nose. You also get these LED headlights now, and the fog lamp housings in the bumper are more vertical in design now. Moving over to the side profile, you get new roof rails, blacked out B-pillars and side steps. Although do bear in mind that the side steps will hinder your ramp over angle while off-roading. You also get a set of shiny chrome bars at the back over the flatbed to lend to its pickup truck appeal. And all the way at the back, you get these new LED taillights and chrome garnishing on the rear bumper. So it's now time to step inside the cabin of the D-Max V-Cross and see everything that's new here. Now the biggest change here is that Isuzu's done away with the dual tone color theme of the interiors, and it's given it a nice all black layout. So now I think it looks better than ever before. Now this all black cabin is complemented very well by these new black leather perforated seats. I think everything here now looks very nice. So overall, the change isn't that big here. It's just a color theme change. You get new upholstery, and now the 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system doubles up as a display for the new rear view camera. Now coming to convenience features that this update has brought about for the D-Max V-Cross, well, as I mentioned, you get a reverse camera now. Along with that, you get hill descent control and hill start assist for your off-roading maneuvers. And then there's a matter of the new LED headlights. They have a much longer throw and much brighter lighting, of course. But we aren't done with the cabin just yet, because this is a double cab, remember? So what we're going to do now is hop into the back seat and see if there are any changes there, apart from the upholstery, of course. Now coming to the rear seats, there isn't any change as such, but let's just jog your memory on how the rear seat comfort for this vehicle is. Because this is a pickup, the flatbed, you need to give more room, so the cabin's a little smaller, which is why you don't have too much leg room in here. This results in inadequate under thigh support for that reason. But you have to remember that this rear seat is not meant for long commutes. It's meant for you to ferry people and family around the farm and such. So on that account, I think it's a very decent rear seat. You get plenty of cabin space in here. The backrest is quite supportive as well, and you get this armrest for two people, and in fact even three if you put that away. I think I can safely say that it's a comfortable place for shorter commutes. Now make no mistake, the D-Max V-Cross was designed to be a functional vehicle on all accounts, but the fact that it looks desperately cool found it a new breed of urban buyers who consider the cool quotient above all else in their new car purchase, and they want to make a real statement with their car, and that's the kind of buyer that the D-Max has catered to, and thus was born the urban customer for the D-Max V-Cross. Now in the company brochure that Isuzu has made for this vehicle, they've showcased the D-Max V-Cross in front of the India Gate. So what better place to drive the new D-Max V-Cross than on the streets of the national capital? Now on the powertrain front, the D-Max V-Cross continues to be powered by its 2.5-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, featuring, of course, a variable geometry turbocharger. And the gearbox continues to be a 5-speed manual unit. But this update has seen this new Z variant, which gets a host of electronic driver aids, such as hill start assist, hill descent control, traction control and stability control. Now I have had a chance to use the hill start assist up a ramp in a mall actually, and that's when you get stuck in those tricky situations. So you know how all the cars line up and you're on a ramp and you're always scared that the guy in front is going to roll back? Well, in case of the D-Max, the guy behind you doesn't have to worry at all, because the hill start assist is just instant. You know, the moment you get off the clutch and go on the throttle, the car just stays there, it does not roll back, and as you throttle it, it will just gently climb up. And since we're limiting this review to urban premises, let's now see how the D-Max V-Cross performs in the city. Now, to start off with, Isuzu's expertise as a diesel powertrain maker comes to light once again the moment you get behind the wheel, for it just feels so smooth to drive. Now, from the get-go, the powertrain of the D-Max V-Cross offered a very linear power delivery. So in fact, you know, when you surge ahead under linear acceleration from as low as 1000 RPM, there's no problem here of turbo lag. Now, given the application of this vehicle, Isuzu has designed the torque curve of this engine to offer a peak 320 Newton meters of torque between about 1800 RPM to 2800 RPM. So you have a flat peak torque output of 320 Newton meters in that 1000 RPM range. Now, this flat torque curve is designed to be exactly at that point so that it's easier for you to carry heavy loads on the flatbed or even tow heavy loads at lower RPMs with relative ease. But a downside of the short gearing is that you have to frequently change gears in the city. But honestly, that's not a problem at all, because you have a really light clutch and the throws for the gearbox are really light and smooth shifting. But in fact, this and the high end range inside the cabin lends to that proper authentic pickup truck driving feel, and it should, because everything else otherwise, you know, you're always aware of your presence on the streets in this thing, because everybody's looking at you and getting out of your way, and they just acknowledge the D-Max V-Cross as a cool vehicle. So you know, the D-Max V-Cross, after living with it for a few days, I get the appeal of this car, and I get why people like it. And it's something you should have, definitely, if you're looking for a cool looking vehicle. And you know, there are very few cars out there at 20 lakh rupees that make as much of a statement as this does. So in fact, despite its mere 5.5 meter length, the D-Max V-Cross is fairly easy to drive in the city. You get a great view of the road ahead. You know, visibility out of the cabin, front and rear through your mirrors is great. So on that front, again, it's very easy to drive. Of course, there's no getting away from the sheer size of the thing. So you got to get used to maneuvering this vehicle around town by yourself. But once you do that, trust me, this thing is quite a lot of fun to drive around town. So having driven the D-Max V-Cross around New Delhi, I would have to say that despite its size and weight, it's quite easy to drive this vehicle around town. The clutch is light, the gear shifts are smooth, the steering isn't too heavy, and overall it's quite easy to maneuver this rather large pickup around town simply because of great visibility out of the cabin. Now, coming to convenience features of this updated version, well, it's all about that rear view camera. It's got a very wide view, so you get a nice wide angle view of everything that's behind. It's very easy to reverse the vehicle. My only problem here is that Isuzu still hasn't given rear parking sensors in this, and that's a bit of a letdown. You know, parking sensors would really go a long way to make driving this vehicle around town much easier. Of course, there's no getting away from its large turning radius because it's a very long vehicle, as you can see. But otherwise, like I said, in every way, the D-Max V-Cross is a very easy vehicle to live with on an urban basis as well. And for some of the clientele that this vehicle caters to as a lifestyle vehicle, you know, the rear bars at the back, everything else, the new alloy wheels, all of it looks great. It's given the D-Max more sheen, and it's definitely going to stand out on the road more.